I still remember that Christmas morning like it happened yesterday. The smell of cinnamon rolls drifted through the house, the fireplace crackled, and the tree lights flickered across the living room like tiny heartbeats. Everyone was laughing, sipping hot cocoa, peeling wrapping paper with that excited rustle that always made me feel 5 years old again. It looked like any other Christmas in our family until it didn't. My mom handed out presents the way she always did, standing by the tree like a conductor. She gave me a small, neatly wrapped box and smiled, the kind of distracted smile that passes by you without stopping. "Thank you," I said, setting it beside me. Then she turned to my sister's daughter, Lily. "Sweetheart, we saved something special for you." The room leaned toward her. Mom held out a shiny red envelope tied with a gold bow. Lily tore it open. Claire, my sister, gasped, hand to her mouth. "Mom." "Dad, yes! Are you serious?" My mother's eyes shone. "A whole week at Disneyland, resort, VIP passes, everything. For you and Lily." Lily screamed and jumped up and down, and everyone clapped like a miracle had happened in our living room. I froze. Disneyland, a $3,500 dream for one grandchild. And for my son, Ethan, 8 years old, quiet as a held breath, nothing even close. He sat beside me on the couch, fingers curled around a small gift bag, smiling with that brave little smile that tells you children know more than you think. He understood. I forced a smile and said, "That's amazing, Lily," but inside I felt a crack run through the day. Later, my mother told me not to take it the wrong way. "Lily's had a rough year," she said. We wanted to cheer them up. Rough year? Claire had remodeled her kitchen, bought a new SUV, and spent 2 weeks in Italy. If that was rough, I didn't know where my life fit on the map. Since my husband lost his job, I've been juggling extra shifts at the hospital to keep the lights on. I never asked for help. I never complained, and somehow that turned me invisible. That night, Ethan asked the question I'd been trying to outrun. "Do you think Grandma forgot me a little?" I brushed his hair back and said she loved him in her own way. When he fell asleep, I sat by the tree and cried. It wasn't about the money, it was the message. That envelope didn't only hold a trip, it held a ranking. Some of us mattered more. Days after Christmas, the house felt different, the lights still blinking but not warm anymore. In the family chat, my mom posted countdown photos and glittery emojis about our girls' trip. Claire answered with hearts. I answered with silence. Ethan played with his small toy car beside me and glanced at my phone screen now and then. "Do you think they'll take me next time?" he asked. "Maybe," I said softly, not trusting my voice. I knew there wouldn't be a next time if we stayed who we were. There was a send-off dinner. Balloons, laughter, and the same old tilt in the air. "Let's take one of the travelers first," Mom whispered when it was photo time, and I stepped back with Ethan and smiled like it didn't sting. Driving home with him asleep in the back seat, I felt replaced by the people who had taught me what love was supposed to mean. 2 weeks later, Disneyland flooded our group chat. Fireworks, matching shirts, smiling faces under a castle. "Best trip ever," Claire wrote. "Dreams come true when you're with family," Mom added. Family, I thought, as the word went hollow. Ethan stared at the photos for a long time and said, "Did Grandma not want us there?" Something broke in me then. I told him Grandma made a choice, and it didn't mean he wasn't loved. But I saw the flicker in his eyes, the first spark of doubt. I had been the quiet daughter my whole life. The strong one. The one who managed. And I realized silence had been my enemy. It had turned me into empty space people learned to step around. On a rain-soft Sunday, I called my mother. She answered joyfully, asking if I'd seen the photos. I told her they were beautiful, and then I told her the truth. I felt like Ethan and I didn't matter as much as Claire and Lily. There was a long silence. She said I was being dramatic. I said it was personal when it's your child left out. She told me I'd always been strong and didn't need much. I asked if that meant I didn't deserve much. Something shifted in her voice. Uncertainty, maybe for the first time. I said, "It's not about things. It's about being seen." At the end she said, tired more than defensive, "I'll talk to your father. We'll try to fix this." I slept badly but lighter somehow. Not because I had won anything, but because I have finally spoken. My dad texted the next morning. "Dinner, just us and Ethan." Saturday came, and there were burgers and awkward small talk, and my mother unusually quiet. Then my dad asked if the favoritism was true. I said I didn't think it, I felt it. Every day. He said they got used to seeing Claire more and mistook that for closeness. I told him distance wasn't an excuse to love less. My mother said she was sorry. She said she thought I never asked for anything. I told her being strong isn't the same as being okay. There were hugs, and when I tucked Ethan in that night, he asked, "Did Grandma say sorry?" I told him she did. "Maybe next Christmas she give hugs instead of tickets," he said. "Maybe," I breathed. A week later, my mother invited me over. Just us. Tea and lemon bars, and a sugar bowl sitting in the exact center like it could hold the day together. She pushed a cedar box across the table. The smell of lavender and old paper rose up the way memory does when it's ready to speak. "What's this?" I asked. "Memories," she said. "And mistakes." Inside was a tiny hospital bracelet. "Claire's," Mom said. She came early. I thought she would stop breathing in the night. Her voice shook on the word breathe. She told me she promised her mother she would protect Claire with everything she had. Then she looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You were strong," she whispered. "From the moment you were born." I mistook your quiet for okay. She unfolded a check stub. "Your college fund," she said, and the guilt on her face did the talking. Claire had lost her job before my freshman year. Mom and Dad used my savings to pay Claire's rent and told themselves they'd replace it. They never did. I remembered sleeping in a cold apartment and working nights and calling home once only to hear a party being planned for Claire. My mother cried. "I chose wrong," she said. Over and over. There was a small cream envelope next. The locket. Grandma's. She had always said she'd give it to the granddaughter who keeps the stories. Mom had given it to Lily on her 5th birthday because Claire was having a hard time, and of course I was strong. I repeated a reflex I learned from my own mother, she said. She favored my sister. I was steady. I convinced myself sensible love was enough. I gave it to you, and storms to Claire. Patterns hide in kindness that tilts. I could see it now like a thread stitched through years. My mother said she couldn't undo Disneyland, or the fund, or snatch the locket back, but she could start again if I let her. I told her I didn't want revenge. I wanted my son to grow up believing love wasn't a competition, that his name belonged in our family story without needing a crisis to earn it. She asked me how to make it right, not perfect, but right. I told her to notice him. Listen when he's quiet. Invite him because she wants him there, not because she's correcting something. Show up for me, even when I don't ask. She took a breath like surfacing and said she and Dad would start a college account for Ethan, not as charity, as grandparents who learned fairness late, but for real. There was one last thing in the box. A sealed letter from my grandmother, for my girls when they forget. We opened it together. The words felt like someone turning on a light in a room we'd been stumbling through. Love has a quiet side and a noisy side. Don't confuse the quiet for absence or the noisy for abundance. Favor the child who needs you in the moment, but tend the steady heart too. Share what is precious with both, or they will build altars to comparison. When you forget, start again. Mom cried the way surrender looks when it's honest. I felt something in me unlock. Okay, I said. We start again. She asked to take Ethan to the planetarium the next Saturday. No reason, no fixing. He doesn't just like stars, I told her. He memorizes their names. Then I'll learn them with him, she said. Healing didn't arrive with confetti. It arrived quietly in the space between an old habit and a new choice. Mom started calling Ethan every Wednesday, just to ask about school. She listened. She remembered the names of the planets. After one call, he whispered, "She said Uranus right," and I laughed until I cried. For his birthday, he wanted a park picnic and a space cake. Claire showed up late with a flashy drone and tried to pull the day toward that old ladder made of price tags. I felt history gathering itself, and I stopped it with a small speech. I told everyone the day wasn't about gifts or surprises. It was about a curious, kind boy who teaches me something new every day, and family that doesn't need to compete to feel loved. The tension melted. My mother touched my shoulder, sorry, without a speech. Claire called later to ask if the speech had been about her. I told her it was about tone, not blame. "Maybe Mom and Dad spoiled me," she said after a long pause. "Maybe I leaned on that too much. It was the first honest bridge between us in a long time. I told her we could do better for our kids and each other." "Maybe," she said. "Let's see." Then the small miracles began to add up. An envelope in our mailbox. A year-long family pass to the planetarium. For the stars he loves. A Sunday dinner that felt like us before we learned the wrong lessons, just roasted chicken, soft jazz, and a table that didn't tilt. After dinner, my dad pressed something into my hand. The locket. Lily had asked to give it back. "It's only fair if Auntie keeps Grandma's stories," she said. "Kids understand fairness better than we do sometimes." That little chain felt cool and faithful against my palm, like a promise returned. The kids built a blanket fort and called it the Star Cave. "Only people who believe in second chances can go in," Ethan declared, and Mom crawled inside and made everyone laugh. When we left, Claire walked me to the car. "You were right," she said in the dark. "I used to be blind. I'm trying not to be. Maybe now we can hold the family together," I told her. "I'd like that," she said. December came again, and I waited for the test life always gives when you start to heal. It arrived wrapped as a handmade wooden tree hung with envelopes. The memory tree, my mother called it. No big gifts this year. Time instead. Ethan opened a note that promised a day of baking, stargazing, and stories with Grandma. Mine promised a day of rest with no comparisons. Dad gave each of us a small bracelet that read "Start again, always." The night felt even finally. Then a phone buzzed. Lily's championship game had been moved to the same day we planned to volunteer at the shelter. I watched the old pole catch at my mother's face and then passed through. "You should go," she said to Claire. "Lily worked hard." She turned to me. "We'll still go to the shelter, right?" "Of course," I said, and felt relief bloom. Sometimes grace means letting everyone have their moment without losing your own. At the shelter, Ethan handed out food with serious little hands. My mother stood beside him and looked at me with a softness that had taken a lifetime to arrive. "Giving feels better than proving," she said later. "It always has," I told her. "We just forget." Claire sent a picture of Lily with a tiny gold trophy and wrote, "Thanks for not making her the only star tonight. You've changed everything." My mom answered, "Starting again, one season at a time." On New Year's Eve, after the kids fell asleep, we raised our glasses to mistakes that became lessons, to love that learned balance, to sisters who stopped competing and started understanding, to grace, the kind that doesn't erase the past, but transforms it. Fireworks painted the dark as if the sky itself was practicing forgiveness. "This is the first year I haven't felt guilt at Christmas," my mother whispered. "That's a miracle," I said. "It's because you told the truth," she answered, and I knew she meant both of us. Morning light spilled across my kitchen table a few weeks later, and I realized I wasn't waiting anymore. Not to be chosen, not to be measured, not to be weighed against someone else's story. I had chased fairness for so long, but love isn't meant to be weighed. It's meant to be shared. I could see our chapters like a map behind me, the gift that broke my heart, the uneven love, the trembling truth I finally spoke, the old wounds with new names, the lines I drew out of love, the echoes that became shifts, and the test of grace we passed. I used to believe revenge would fix what favoritism broke. I thought making people feel my pain would balance the scales. But revenge mirrors pain. It doesn't heal it. Grace does. Grace is not pretending it didn't happen. Grace is choosing what happens next. My mother still slips sometimes. Old weather visits. But she catches herself and apologizes, and she shows up anyway with muffins Ethan loves, a printed star chart, a story from her girlhood that makes her cry and laugh in the same breath. The point isn't to erase the scar. It's to stop touching it like it's still bleeding. Claire and I still tease each other and disagree, but the room doesn't tilt the way it used to. She called one afternoon and said, Mom showed Ethan's project to her book club. You'd think he built the telescope. We laughed until we were wiping our eyes. Laughter, finally, where comparison used to live. Ethan asked me one night what my favorite star is. The North Star, I said. Because even when you're lost, it stays steady and shows you the way home. He thought about that and said, then that's my favorite too. Maybe I was his North Star all along. Maybe someday he'll be someone else's, shining quiet and sure. If I could go back to that first Christmas, the big trip for Lily and a small toy car for Ethan, I wouldn't. To change it now. That pain was the spark that burned off years of quiet hurt and made us face the truth. It showed me who I was and who I refused to become. It taught my son that love isn't earned through price tags or applause. It reminded my mother that love, even flawed and late, is worth rebuilding. And if you have ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've watched someone else receive the affection you ached for, if being the strong one turned you into the forgotten one, hear me. You are not unlovable. You are not invisible. You are not the leftover chapter. You are the chapter that teaches others how to love better. Maybe your pain isn't punishment. Maybe it's purpose. Sometimes it takes the quietest heart to make the loudest change. Sometimes it takes the one who never got the trip to Disneyland to show everyone what a real journey looks like. I sit by the window now and watch Ethan draw another constellation. I whisper thank you to the heartbreak that taught me to speak, to the silence that taught me to listen, and to the grace that turned a wound into a beginning. In the end, it was never about Disneyland. It was about finding our way home.